Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you. It is the Urban Cube Show brought to you on where else? On Inspire FM 105.1 FM. We are beaming out to the wonderful people in Luton surrounding areas and Sheffield's Link FM, not forgetting Peterborough Salam Radio. I hope you are well, warm and winning wherever you are. And it's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to you this morning. I hope your fasts are going well and all your ibadat, your prayers are being met. And it's an absolute pleasure to be once again on Inspire FM on this auspicious, blessed month, speaking to you and being part of this journey of Ramadan that we are so blessed to have. As always, the Urban Cube show is available to listen to on our Listen Back features. You can catch the conversation on Inspire FM Facebook page. Do leave your comments on the comment section and inshallah we look forward to reading them out. Now, the Urban Cube Show is a show that celebrates arts and lifestyle with trailblazing Muslims who are local, national and international. And on the show, we always want to encourage, motivate and get you engaged with the creative conversations, the experiences and the potential projects that our wonderful guests may be involved in. Now, it is the Ramadan special series. So it would only make sense that I talk about what Ramadan recipes that we could get made and share. And who else to do that with is no other than the absolutely wonderful author, celebrity chef, all-round amazing woman, Shahnaaz Ayub. Now, Shahnaaz has been a phenomenal guest of mine for many a Ramadan. So today it has to, I've got to have her back. I cannot have a Ramadan radio series on the Urban Cube if I don't have Shahnaaz joining me. Now, Shahnaaz is actually going to be doing something very, very useful, especially for all us mums. She's going to be giving us tips on how to make a Ramadan a little bit easier in regards to cooking. We'll be getting some budget advice on how to budget what we want to cook for sehri and for iftar. Also, nutritional food tips. Plus, we'll be finding out how you, as a parent, if your child is at university, how you can actually make their experience of Ramadan easier and less for them not to feel as homesick, because Ramadan for many is a time of community, and especially with our children going away to university, it can be a little bit lonely. So without further ado, I think it's wonderful to have the amazing Shahnaaz joining us on the show today to talk a little bit who she is, because I think she'll tell us in her own words what she's been getting up to, and we'll be gathering some great tips from her too. Shahnaaz, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. What a great intro.
I think you deserve
it.
But I think you deserve a lot more. You're a celebrity chef and author of a very successful cookbook. Plus, you are also contributing to a lot of mainstream television and mainstream radio and food festivals as well. Plus, folks, if you don't know that this amazing woman is a mother of 3 children, a very hardworking mum, she is. Plus, she's a senior child protection lawyer as well. And she's from Luton.
Yes, that's the best bit.
That is the best bit. I don't know how you do it. And that's what we're going to find out from you, because just the way you organize your life, you make it sound so easy. But Ramadan is a time where you have to be super organized, super on it. And it always seems to fall onto the women. Yes. And there always seems to be a bit of a panic as well around that. But preparation is key. Right.
Well, I think one of the reasons why we want to do it's that saying, isn't it? If you want a job done well, do it yourself. And if you send your husband out with a shopping list, you're guaranteed you will get maybe 3 items on there that you've asked for, and the rest are sort of bog off deals that he thought were a good idea at the time, but they're no relevance to the recipe menu, ideas that you've got in place. So that is why we put the pressure on ourselves. And I think it's not pressure, though. It's enjoyable. And I think, you feel then that you're fully in control of this really, really, as you say, auspicious, special month, because then it'll all go smoothly. You'll go into your fridge, you'll go into your larder, you'll go into all those places that you've stored stuff, and you'll know it's there. And that's all part of it. Organization is always the key to success in anything at all. But between preparing suhoor and iftar, doing the housework and spending time with your kids, it's not easy.
And also ibadat, trying to fit in all your prayers, your extra
yes, you know, I think
reading.
that's the me time. You know, that is not considered as a chore. That's the me time, and that's all part of your meditation process. Just feeling at peace with yourself and enjoying the essence of what you're doing for everybody else, but more importantly for yourself. And it's the balance that you've got to strike between all these commitments. And here you'll find some simple and productive tips for Ramadan. The most important thing for me has always been, even if it's not Ramadan or not, always plan your meals. Plan your meals, because actually for me, dinner is the most important time of the evening. And I always want to know that I've done either a full day of hard work, or even if I haven't, I'm looking forward to that evening meal. And traditionally, you know, we all sit together. That's our time to chat. But I don't know if you know, Shemiza, I'm an empty nester now. I shouldn't say it's great too much, because the more my children are hearing that, the more they're feeling as if, you know, Mummy, you're actually enjoying the fact that none of us are living with you. I mean, 2 of them have graduated. They now, wherever their jobs have taken them, they've gone that. And one is just started at university. So it's me, my husband, the cat, and you know, it's wonderful. It's peaceful as well, which is nice. But there is that sense of they're all not there, and especially with this month coming up, we're going to miss them tremendously.
Of course.
But it doesn't take away the fact that the preparation still needs to be in place, because it's also a really social time of the year. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you know, we're not going to do iftari dawats, you know, the parties after at that time, because it's just too much hassle getting dressed. But actually, that's all part of it. That's when you have the opportunity of spending that really, really special time with loved ones. You have your, you break your fast, you do your prayers together. There's nothing better than that. And then you come back to a lovely meal, and then you do a few more prayers afterwards, and then you just sit and chat with each other about how lovely the month is.
It's memories, isn't it? It's actual memories that you're creating. And I think Ramadan is a time that a lot of us reminisce. We look back at what our mother would cook for sahri, or what dad would do at prayer time, or just the gathering of the community iftars. And it's just those beautiful, beautiful memory. Life moves on, and I do find myself just reminiscing, just like craving maybe the foods and dishes that my mum would have cooked. And it was always the parante. We always had parante. So is there a familiar memory for you whilst of Ramadan?
I think, you know, it was always traditional that we would have, you know, that heavy breakfast. And I think as you know, as generations have moved on and we've realized nutritionally we have to start looking after ourselves, because diabetes is diabetes, heart problems are very prevalent in the generation above us. And there's a reason for that. And it's because of the fact that, you know, healthy eating wasn't focused on as much as it ought to have been. And people were indulgent. Nowadays, we're feeling more conscious of ourselves. We want to live longer. We want to live healthy lives. And I mean, typical example, actually, that my husband and I just, you know, every evening we'll just have protein and vegetables and very little carb. We all need to have carbs in our diet, but you know, when it's not Ramadan, I'm saying, you know, we really limit the amount of intake, because you know, then we become indulgent over the weekends if we're going out or anything like that. But it's not essential to eat like that every day,
of course.
And I would say that, you know, this is something that I will touch on as I go on in what I say. But in terms of you know, planning ahead, it's essential that you have meal planners. It takes a little bit of time, but actually that's when I have to plan for a week, I actually get quite excited about it, because I think to myself, I haven't made that for a while and I need to try that again because I'm out of practice. So having that meal planner that isn't going to be too complex, don't make it hard for yourself, because at that time of the day you're so hungry. Really, it doesn't matter so much what's in front of you, it's just that it's food. And at that point you are filling a void because you're hungry. So you don't need to make it too indulgent, make it too lavish. It can be quite simple. But what is important is that you shop in advance for your food. So once you've known what you're going to cook, shop and store your groceries before Ramadan comes. This way, instead of worrying about the ingredients, you'll have in your pantry organized everything that you need at hand. And do this 2 weeks prior to Ramadan. I stock food that I wouldn't need to store, for example, in a fridge, like rice, flour, oil, dry fruits, etc. And then 1 week later, I stock up with the frozen vegetables, meat, chicken, fish, etc., to keep in the freezer. And then as Ramadan is approaching, I shop for the dairy, cheese, eggs, you know, the more fresher meats that you might not want to freeze, and the bread. And also we get through a lot of fruit. So you'll be shopping for fruit continuously. But you know, as well as I do, that if you go to certain areas of where we live at certain times of the day, it'll be heaving. So that's why you need to be a little bit organized about getting all the stuff that I've just explained in advance and just having it there with you. And then the other thing is you need to stick to healthy habits. And I've touched on this already. And this is to stay healthy and energetic. Make sure you stick to the right habits before and during Ramadan. And it is about preparing your body for Ramadan before it even occurs. I am not a great advocate for that because we've just come back from India. I was eating 3 paratha in the morning. I have not prepared myself at all in any shape or form for Ramadan this year, because we were just indulging every 5 seconds. But, usually I would try and, and encourage the others to train your body somewhat, because it goes into shock. 1 minute you're eating 3 regular meals, or at least your body is used to a habit of eating. And then suddenly you're depriving your body of that completely. So your body will go into shock. Your sugars will go up and down. So first thing is you must stay hydrated. And it's really important that you drink 8 glasses of water daily from iftar to suhoor. It's really important that you do that, and that you stay away from foods that are high in salt and oil. And make sure that you don't eat too many sweets, because these can make you so thirsty after a very short period of time. And then that thirst carries on. And remember to exercise lightly. Try some yoga, or simply take a walk. You don't need to do anything particularly cardio. People feel very guilty about what they've eaten, so they hit the gym, they do this very, very, intense cardios. Something like, for example, I've taken up Pilates. I actually have never known a better exercise than Pilates, and it's much more effective than cardio. It really is. It's a fat burner, trust me, and it works. And it's perfect for Ramadan to do something like that. And you can do it in the privacy of your home.
Wow.
And that's wonderful. So finally, trying to get enough rest and sleep. That's really, really important. And for a busy mum, this one's the hardest, getting that rest and sleep. So take a nap whenever you can to make up for that lost night's sleep, because there is that concern. You're worried about what you're going to be making the next day. You're worried about how everyone's doing. We take on the worry. That's what we do.
Indeed. And there is this tendency of making everything perfect. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be orderly. And then that pressure, that burden can be actually mentally exhausting.
It can. It just causes this anxiety, and it then takes away the enjoyment. And one of the things that you can do is get your family involved. So, Ramadan activities are perfect to spend quality time with your family and get some extra help with everyday chores. I mean, we all know our kids don't like doing the everyday chores, but, it's nice to just encourage them to do so. And especially as we'll be in Easter holidays, won't we, the last couple of weeks of Ramadan, create mini tasks where everyone can participate and help. And you can create a task for cleaning up after iftar to encourage your little ones to help as well, or ask your husband to spend some time with the children while you're busy grocery shopping. Cooking meals with your family is another great activity that brings everyone together.
And I'm really glad that you've mentioned husband, because it does seem to be everything is on the shoulder of the mum, but activities do need to be organised and given and to every member of the family. So thank you for mentioning that. Now, Shahnaaz, I wanted to mention something, the living cost crisis that we are experiencing at the moment. And this is making a lot of families quite anxious. 2 years ago, we found ourselves as a community setting up, with the help of brilliant organisations across Luton, Ramadan food parcels. Now, those are greatly still required because families are now under the breadline and finding that Ramadan can be quite an anxious time, not regarding the ibadat, but actually how to manage the food budget, how to make sure that they're able to provide a nutritional sehri and an iftar. It's quite saddening to know the reality of what our communities are facing, not just Luton and not just across the country. We thought this is something that only the third world would be impacted by, but the true reality is that our neighbours, somebody down the road, is struggling, and they might be struggling in Ramadan. How does that make you feel when you hear something like that? This fact?
It's of course, it's something that is incredibly sad. You're completely correct when you say that it seems like this country is becoming more and more like a third world country. And on the news yesterday, they were talking about the extent of homelessness and the number of these hostels that are closing down because the government just simply can't afford to keep them open. And it is a very, very sad state of affairs when you look out on the streets of where we live even and just see the extent of what's going on. And no matter what our circumstances are, and particularly, I mean, I speak for myself as well, at home, for me, it was really important for my children to know what budgeting is all about. So, each of them had been at university and we gave them a budget to stick to, and it was not a lavish one at all. It made them realize the cost of money, the cost of living. And it sounds very tough love, but when they were down to their last penny, of course, we don't want to see them starve, but we would say to them, you need to start being resourceful. You have to understand that people that are not there to ask their parents for money, what would they do in that situation where they don't have the luxury of that? Now, think about what you're going to do. If it means you're going on rice and beans for a week, that's exactly what you have to do. And there are not a lot of parents that would have done that. But by God, it has really taught them the value of money and to appreciate that. And that's what's important, lessons that you give your kids to know that, they are so fortunate. I mean, just having this recent trip to India taught the children how, mashallah, how fortunate they are that they could have come into this life as one of those beggars on the street, but they're not. They're in a very privileged position. So, the cutbacks, in Ramadan spending as Muslims face cost of living crisis has been researched over the last couple of years. And with brands across the UK already launching these campaigns to engage British Muslims around Ramadan and Eid preparations. You go to all these big brand superstores and you see those great big banners up and everything. And there is research that reveals that spending trends since the cost of living crisis was announced is sadly ongoing. And it's actually getting worse. In fact, 48% of UK Muslims say that the cost of living crisis has already impacted their Ramadan/Eid preparations, whilst 45% are expecting to work more hours to offset rising living costs this year. And Muslims in the UK, to understand how their spending habits around Ramadan may be changing this year, well, when it comes to specific areas, they'll be cutting back on, for example, 41% say that they're more likely to eat out less for iftar, the evening meal that signifies the end of the fast. That time was there, wasn't it, Shemiza, when we used to really enjoy just going out and having an iftar outside. That's happening less and less. You go to restaurants and their prices are 3 times higher than what they used to be. You come away, I often come away, and this sounds I could have cooked that better at home.
Naturally, you're going to say that. You're not going to say that because you can, Shahnaaz. You can totally cook that at home.
That's wrong to say that. But I'm only saying that because I'm saying it in perspective of the money that I have just spent and what I've just received. And so I don't blame a lot of people for that. But you can't blame the restaurants either because they made heavy losses that they're having to make up for now. But then 42% expect to spend less than £30 per person on Eid gifts, and 61% say that this is much less than what they spent previously. And this is where, and grocery shopping habits will be one of the biggest changes for many as this cost of living crisis goes on. 34% have chosen to save on groceries this year to combat rising living costs, and over 40% turn to budget-friendly grocery stores. I don't know if I can mention them, the ones that we all know about, beginning with L, beginning with A, because they do cost a lot less. I go to them, I can see the difference.
May I point out something? Do you feel that there is the world of social media and people are quite into Instagram and sharing Instagram Live? That has put a lot of pressure on say families to have Ramadan decorations, have a banquet, and that pressure has just maybe made people feel quite insecure.
I think that anxiety is there. You take from social media what you want to take from it. It's there. You can block yourself off from it and just live in your own wonderful world of your own security, which I would encourage everybody to do. Don't take seriously what you see. The grass isn't greener on the other side. I constantly tell my children this, that what you see is not real. And people post on Facebook, for example, showing that they're so incredibly happy all the time because it sets off the hormones in their mind. Dopamine. Makes them feel that way. That's right. And so there's a reason why people are putting things on for their own security, for their monetary gain, for example, but it's not necessarily the reality of what's going on.
Is it fair, though, to do that? Should there be a more leveled responsibility do you feel? Because especially with what's happening around the world.
But it's life, and it's everybody's in it for their own agenda. Not everyone, but people are, particularly people that are on these platforms, because they know that there are companies now that will sponsor them and give them X amount of money if they have X amount of followers. And so this, for a lot of people who are literally sitting at home doing, nothing, just concentrating on the social media and making, shed loads of money, and doing very little. But, it doesn't do anything for their in terms of them evolving as a person.
Interesting point.
And I always say this, that I would not like necessarily to be a child growing up in this community, in this society. There is so much pressure on everyone.
Indeed,
and I think, I was lucky in the sense that my children are old enough, they just about escaped that.
Yes.
And, and even the youngest one was at the tail end of it. And even, to be very influenced by these videos, these YouTubers that came up with all these very get rich quick. And I'd say to him, this does not create an all-rounder in you. Education is key. It makes you a confident person. Don't be so influenced by what people are saying. Read, because that's the key to everything. Knowledge is the key to success, and makes you an interesting person. You can then go into any level of society and be able to talk on any level. And that's the most important thing, not how much money you've got in your account. This doesn't give you security. What gives you security is your peace of mind in yourself. You can't take it with you. We know that. It's a question of how fulfilled you feel in yourself. And you'll find that a lot of these YouTubers maybe not as fulfilled in their life because they feel the need to influence other people in ways where they'll gain financially. And so you may feel that the focus isn't really on healing the people that they're speaking out to, rather than making gain for themselves.
Indeed.
So it's really important. Listen, anxiety plays a massive part in everyone's life. And I will be the first to tell you, as everybody probably who knows me will say, that I do suffer with anxiety, a level of it, but I try and control it because, as you say, all these things that I'm doing, it doesn't just come smoothly. Every single hour is accounted for until I go to sleep. And it gets to a point sometimes where if I haven't achieved my things to do list of the day, I'm sitting there thinking, I failed, or not really feeling as elated as I should, or relaxed as I should. But this is what we do. We beat ourselves up so much. And I think perspective on life has to change in terms of that self-contentment, that self-realization that nothing needs to be perfect.
And COVID taught us that. The pandemic taught us that. And we're back to, it feels that seems like a distant memory.
Yes.
And some of the lessons from that, I have taken across to the post-pandemic world, but I still feel that I'm still searching for a little bit of normality. And Ramadan for me is that moment where I'm like, okay, detox, take stock of the world around me and just be in the moment. Is that how you feel?
Yes, I think Ramadan is that time of the year when actually, we're very influenced in this world, regardless of who we are, how we lead our lives, by, things that are just not important. And as you get older, and I will say this from experience because I am getting older, that things that you thought were important are just not.
What would they be?
Well, the importance that we'd give to certain things, like, she's driving a better car, or he has a better house, or they have a better job, or they're just things that will make you feel that you're more comfortable in life. What makes you comfortable in life is not your car, is not your house. It's what you have filled your life with. It's making your house a home. And I'll give you a very good example of this. When we were in India, we have, on my mum's side, we've got the two sets of family. We have the family that live in what we call the White House, because it's this palatial, amazing residence that honestly is far beyond anything that I've seen in my life before. It's amazing. And then we had my mamu's house, which was also really lovely, but wasn't as palatial. And the girls, when we first arrived, said, "What? We're not staying at the palace?" And I said, well, okay, listen, what we'll do is you stay at both, and then at the end of it, tell me which one you prefer.
Interesting.
And after half an hour, we want to be at Mama's place, because family were there. People were real, in the sense that people were talking about topics where the conversation can end literally after about 30 seconds because there's nothing more to say. There were deeper conversations at this other house. There was just more love around, and you feel a sense of tremendous belonging. And this is a really important lesson in life, that it's not about what you surround yourself, it's about who you surround yourself with, and that gives you your ultimate contentment in life. And how you feel about yourself. You want to inspire to be something or someone, do it, try it. Don't let anyone hold you back, because one thing you mustn't have is regrets. Be kind to everyone. Your parents, they brought you into this world. And if you're a parent yourself, you then realize how difficult this job is. And we always say to our kids, well, you'll know when you're a parent how difficult this job is. And we've realized that ourselves. So how we treat our parents is exactly how our kids will end up treating us. So always bear that in mind. Anything you do for anyone that has sacrificed their life for you is sawab. It really is. And so it's important to remember that. And it humbles you as a person as well. Because I keep saying this, you can't take anything with you other than your good deeds.
Indeed. And those good deeds you're sharing with us on the Urban Cube this morning. It is the Urban Cube with me, Shemiza, taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock this morning with the absolutely wonderful Shahnaaz Ayub, who is joining me on this Ramadan special series.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Our souls need fasting as much as our bodies need food.
Learn more this Ramadan only on Inspire 105.1 FM.
Islam guides believers to live their lives in moderation. If Allah has blessed someone with abundance, one should neither live in a miserly state nor live in excess. Give to close relatives their due, as well as the poor and needy travelers, and do not spend wastefully. Surely the wasteful are like brothers to the devils, and the devil is ever ungrateful to his Lord. From chapter 17, verse 26 and 27, Surah Isra. Stay tuned to Inspire FM during the month of Ramadan to learn more about the lessons of the Quran and Hadith.
Attention all electricians, builders and DIY enthusiasts. Capital Electrical Wholesalers are now open in Luton. It's a fully stocked branch with experienced staff on hand to help with all your electrical needs. With branches also in Greenford, Tottenham, Richmond and Ashton. Capital Electrical Wholesalers only stock the biggest names, including JCC, Saxby, Knightsbridge, Hamilton, MK, Wilex, Hager, Aco Smoke Alarms and many more. That's Capital Electrical at Unit M, Kingsway Industrial Estate. Call 01582 801122.
बाबा जी आप इतने जोरों से क्यों खांस रहे हैं?
वो बेटा सारी रात खांसी और बुखार ने सोने नहीं दिया।
तो आप कोई दवाई क्यों नहीं ले लेते?
दवाई कहाँ से लूं? इतवार को तो सारी फार्मेसी बंद होती है ना।
आपको नहीं मालूम, वेस्ट बाउंड फार्मेसी तो हफ्ते के 7 दिन खुली रहती है। सुबह 9 बजे से लेकर शाम 9 बजे तक खुली रहेगी। वहाँ से आपको NHS प्राइवेट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन के अलावा दवाई के इस्तेमाल के लिए मशवरा भी ले सकते हैं। वेस्ट बाउंड फार्मेसी 198B डंस्टेबल रोड लूटन, कॉर्नर ऑफ वेस्ट बाउंड रोड, टेलीफोन 01582 419 432.
This is Imam Siraj Wahaj from Masjid Al-Taq on Brooklyn. Keep tuned.
You are number 19 in the queue.
Tired of hearing this? Waiting weeks for an NHS appointment? Optimise Body and Mind puts your health first.
I took a blood test and found out I was vitamin deficient.
That's right. Urgent GP appointments for just £45. Prompt, personalised care when you need it most.
I took a vitamin injection and now I feel like a new person.
Deal with symptoms, vitamin deficiencies, hormone imbalances and pick up any early signs of illness. Put your health first with Optimise Body and Mind. Call us on 0333 012 4214 or visit optimisedbodyandmind.co.uk to book your appointment today. Your health is our priority.
This Ramadan, let's remember the less fortunate among us. Join Families Relief, where your generosity will make a world of difference to the lives of orphan children, widowed mothers, people in Gaza, Syria, Yemen, and other parts of the world. Donate generously to Families Relief by calling 0114 365 4454 or visit familiesrelief.org.uk.
This Ramadan, start your day off the right way by tuning in to the Seri Show with Brother Tariq. Start your day off with a dose of spirituality and fun as we share Ramadan reflections and reminders, Islamic facts and hadiths, as well as a quiz every single day with amazing prizes to be won. As we count down to the time to close our fast, let Brother Tariq keep you company. Tune in every morning in Ramadan at 3:30 a.m. all on your number one radio station, 105.1 FM.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shemiza.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you. It is the Urban Cube Show brought to you on where else? On Inspire FM 105.1 FM. Now, folks, if you've tuned into the show, you are listening to me, Shemiza, on our special Ramadan series. And it wouldn't be a Ramadan series if I didn't have the absolutely wonderful Shahnaaz Ayub joining me this morning on the show. Now, Shahnaaz is a celebrity chef. You would have seen her on television with her own cooking series. She also is a renowned author of a wonderful cookbook. Tell us what the cookbook is called.
You tell us what the cookbook is called. We go through this every time. Shemiza, what's the name of my cookbook? Oh.
Always get it wrong.
Yeah, no.
That's why I call it.
That's our running joke, guys. It's perfectly easy Indian food because it's perfectly easy to remember Shemiza.
But Shemiza's brain is like so not perfect.
No, it is.
But I always want you to say what it is. And you had a wonderful TV series, which I believe people can still watch.
It's still coming on. In fact, I was somewhere the other day. I was in court actually, and one of the security guys said, Shahnaaz, I've just bought this 80-inch television and I was there eating my paratha on Sunday morning and there you appeared and it was just so overwhelming. It's like you were larger than I thought. Maybe you should have sat back a bit, but it is apparently still running.
Fantastic.
I think it's the only one that's running for as long as it does.
Well, the reason why is because it's absolutely brilliant.
It does so much.
And you know, you really lit up that screen with your energy, and your interview today, just talking about you talking to you about these wonderful tips has been so enriching.
Well, it has turned into a bit of a therapy session.
It has, but we need all that, don't we? We need to hear it how it is. And through experience.
Exactly. And one of the things that you mentioned about husbands getting involved, you know, we don't call it a partnership for nothing. When we took those vows, it was to be together. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean, we all have roles in our lives.
Yes,
you know, we do. I mean, my husband does not cook because I will not allow him to cook because I've tasted his cooking and it's not good.
But when you've got Shahnaaz Ayub married to the, creme de creme of chefs in that house, I've seen the food, the 3-course meals that you have. And it's like, he's a very, very lucky man.
But I will
Mashallah.
tell you something about Shahid. He's so hilarious. So you can give him a 3-course banquet meal, or you could give him a grilled cheese sandwich. You will get the same reaction.
He's
hilarious.
Bless him.
Because he's lovely in that way. But what he does do is help a lot. So
Mashallah.
Cooks love to cook, but what we hate doing is
cleaning
washing
up.
Yeah.
And
that's where he comes
a great
in.
partnership there. I mean, that's
partnership. Really,
indeed. And I just want to do a bit of a disclaimer on the show because I should have done earlier on. Any advice, any nutritional advice, any advice that is health related, please do seek professional advice regarding that, because we don't want to, it could, what am I trying to say, impact you. So all for the better. So please, so you need to please do get any advice regarding exercise, nutrition from a medical profession, and all the advice given on the show is not representative of the radio station, but is from our guest. And we have a great guest. It's Shahnaaz on the show today, still talking to us about how we can best balance our time through Ramadan. Tips for mums, budgeting tips as well, great recipe tips. Also, how to kind of manage the whole organizing of things. And, these are greatly needed tips, because I think we all need a little bit of organization in our lives. So it's been given to us with a lot of love, a lot of warmth. And I'm just loving hearing the wisdom coming from you, Shahnaaz.
Oh, the wisdom.
The wisdom is absolutely wonderful. Now,
it's nice to hear that I'm wise, because I don't hear that very often from my family, I have to say.
But what makes Shahnaaz, what has driven you to be this amazing individual? Because whoever crosses your path always remember you for the energy, the kindness, and the love that you
have to say, you say that. I actually don't. Obviously, I've lived with me all my life.
It's like, it's me again.
Yeah, it's me. I mean, I always think that I'm a bit like Marmite.
Right.
Love or hate or whatever, I don't change as a person. I have taken a lot of characteristics from how I have been raised, and my parents are incredibly humble beings, and that's how we were raised. And this comes across in work as well. So I can be dealing with a client who is, a drug addict, an alcoholic, even a worker of dubious means, and desperate means. And I will talk to him or her on their level. And they will come away saying that made so much sense, rather than treating it just like a job and just, saying, well, this is what you need to do. And if you don't listen, I actually get almost down and dirty with them and say, I understand where you're coming from. And then you have, of course, the other end of the spectrum, who are the judges. So it's being able to talk to anyone on any level. When I go to court, I kid you not, I spend the first 20 minutes just talking to security. That doesn't mean that
I've seen you do that actually. And you treat everybody equally. And isn't that a characteristic of a Muslim, to be mindful, to be respectful, to treat everybody equally, to always make people feel better about themselves?
If you've ever been, if you've ever had the privilege of going for pilgrimage or just going for Umrah, when you're there, everybody is wearing the same color. Nobody is wearing jewelry, and everyone looks the same. Everyone is equal in God's eyes. Nobody's better than anyone else. And that's the philosophy that you've got to have in life, that actually, no matter what means other people have, or if they've got celebrity status, everybody is made up of the same material. It's our character that differentiates us from other people, and sometimes our insecurities, and sometimes our anxieties. So that's what you've got to take stock of in your life, and just make yourself the best person that you can be. And as I said before, just don't have any regrets at all. But like, for example, nowadays people get into relationships, they get into marriages. There is this low tolerance that seems to be there nowadays. And I'm not saying that you should be in a relationship that's toxic, but you should be able to communicate better now, compared to, say, for example, our generations before us.
Yes, that's a really good point. So what is the key element of communication in a marriage when things are maybe looking rocky? Because I'm going to admit that Ramadan can be quite a testing time for couples with no food, no water, tolerance levels are low. There's going to be some sparks flying. People are going to be hungry because they're hungry. And then it just gets to a point where, it impacts the marriage, it impacts communication. So how does one then manage that?
Remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. You're fasting for a reason. And, it's not to detox, it's to bring you closer to God. It's to make you realize how lucky you are, how fortunate you are. Regardless of your means, you have a meal at the end of that day. And there are lots of people that don't. And just knowing how fortunate. So it's about, and I say this to lots of people, why aren't people looking at their cup as half full anymore? People talk about what they don't have, but they don't talk about what they do have. And it's that level of appreciation that you've got to have in life. Health is the most important thing. But I've known people whose health has suffered, but they feel like they have everything. Because in their minds, this was God's will. I'm going to deal with it. And whatever the result is going to be, it's going to be okay. And I think that's it, that philosophy of it's going to be okay has got to be something that you carry on day in, day out. And of course, life isn't easy. You have your ups and downs. There is no marriage that is perfect. And anyone that tells you that is lying. There isn't a perfect marriage.
So where do we compromise? So why do we have this low tolerance? Where is the low tolerance coming from?
I think a lot of it is because of communication. Some people will think to themselves, well, there's no point in having this conversation because they're not going to understand. And it's about having that communication and speaking in a language that maybe they will understand. Because you'll find that a lot of, particularly clients that I dealt with when I was doing divorce law, that they'd say, well, she never told me that, or he never explained that. He never told me he loved me. He never said it, and you just think, God, what? It's such a mismatch, but it's such a shame at the same time. It's tragic. And that's why communication is key. And away from the children, because believe it or not, your children will grow up and they will become their own people. And what you're left with is yourselves. Or if you don't have that partner, you are left with yourself and your security and how, you're going to be living your life on your own or with somebody else. It's, we give our children our responsibility is to give them the tools to go out there, to study, to work, do whatever, but become the best person that they can be and live their best life in a way that is where they're not going to be harming themselves, where they're living with dignity, and they have a spiritual awareness of religion, because that always homes everybody in. When the kids left home to go to university, I was so happy that they're looking for the Qibla. They're looking for, they started having, music that we used to listen to in the house that was religious, or if it was just classical, Asian music, just something that brought them closer to their culture and their religion, because that's what they were brought up with and that's what they missed. And they become that person. They will, integrate with society at the same time. They'll be curious about what's going on, but ultimately they come back in the fold if you've done it right.
Because there is a fear, isn't it, for many Muslim families that, sending their children away to university will actually change them. It will manipulate them to get involved, get engaged, or influenced by things that are not good for them, for their mind or for their soul. So how do families then manage that? How do they balance that fear?
I think it's getting an understanding of what the parents have to have, an understanding of what actually is going on in society at the moment, and that particularly girls that I've represented who are potentially going through forced marriages, and they'll tell me about their lives and what they're going through at home. And it's really difficult that some families and some communities just haven't evolved. It's sad, because actually when you go back home, you'll find that they have evolved quite a bit.
So why are we not evolving? Why the communities that you speak of, why do you feel they haven't evolved? What makes them?
It's really, what the answer to that is. And I've thought about this for a number of years now. And for example, when my parents came from India to England, they came, so all their community went to the same med school, and then they all came at the same time. They're all from Hyderabad, all came at the same time here. And we all saw a lot of each other all the time. And we had Hyderabadi biryani until we were sick of it every single, believe me. But what they were doing was that they were hanging on to their desiness, to their culture, to their togetherness. And they never actually wanted to then, it was almost like they were stuck in time because they wanted to hang on to it so tightly. And don't get me wrong, my parents really did integrate very well in society. They had to, they were medics, so they had quite not a liberal, but a sort of like very anglicized upbringing in India. So it wasn't too difficult for them to come here and adapt to the lifestyle. But there were people that didn't have that came to the car factories here as laborers, that came maybe from villages that maybe weren't as educated. So they hung on to their roots, they hung on to their culture. And they became even stricter because they knew that they were in a society where potentially their children could get influenced. And unfortunately, in our Bollywood movies, how is the West always portrayed? Always portrayed in slightly loose characters and this and that. And of course, we know that that's not the case. And so there was the fear there, though, wasn't there, of this first generation of losing our kids or losing their kids to a society where they wouldn't be able to reel them back. So they became stricter with the children. And what I have seen from my experience of over 30 years of being in child protection is that these communities haven't really evolved. And a lot of it is because a lot of the relatives are brought over and married into the family. So there isn't that, there isn't that ability to evolve in society. It just stays in time. And was somewhere, I think I was in doctor's surgery the other day, and this little kid was, this little really sweet little Asian kid was, just running around a bit. And the mother, who was from, an Asian subcontinent country, Pakistan, I think she was from, because I recognized the dialect. And she said to him, "Stop doing that, otherwise I'll call the police." Why is that something that should have been said? The police are there to help us. They're not there for us to fear. And that's just a snapshot of what you see. Or just don't talk to any white people, or we don't want to be part of that society. We're here. We need to be part of the society. So what happens to a lot of, particularly the girls, is that if they are allowed to go out and study or live away, not saying all of them, but particularly what my son is saying now that he's at university is that, "Mummy, I've noticed how the Asian girls tend to, be a little bit on, the more, for want of a better term, wild side. Not all of them, but they're curious and they're naturally curious." And that's sad, because what we should give our children are tools to deal with society, to uphold their dignity, to be the person that they want to be. And the person that they want to be is not necessarily the person that they were when they were living at home, because they weren't allowed to be
evolve
that person. And that's such a shame.
And it's also very important for young people to be able to read other people's energies and to read emotion. It's called emotional intelligence, really. And I think that's a skill that may potentially be lacking if you don't allow young people to kind of find their space. Yes. But alhamdulillah, I think it's just, there are some great stories of children doing extremely well at university, going on to getting their degrees and being great examples to society and making us all very, very proud. And talking about making us proud, lots of kids are at uni at the moment. It's Ramadan. What would you advise to parents when their children are feeling quite homesick and the time of Ramadan, when they're missing their mum or dad's cooking and just, iftar time and breaking their fast?
Those are the kids that are really regretting the fact now that they didn't learn how to cook.
So what would you say
to them? Well, living away from home can be so challenging as a student, and even more so in the month of Ramadan. I mean, think about it. When I first left home and went to university, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to open a bank account. I didn't know because, my parents didn't go to university here.
Right.
But they knew it was the right thing to do to allow me to go away and study. And I really appreciated that. But I wasn't necessarily given the tools. I happen to like cooking, which is why I was able to do it, because I had an interest in it. But plenty of people don't have an interest in it.
Yes.
But they go away. And of course, they come back. Those are the ones that come back every weekend and take the bags and bags and bags of food back with them.
See, I've not done any of that for my son, and I feel really bad.
No, why should you feel bad? Ultimately, it's them making their way in the world and learning. So, my girls, for example, will send pictures of things that they've cooked, curries that they've cooked, and this and that. And it's nice. They even get together. So one's in Cambridge, one's in Nottingham, and sometimes they meet up and they cook for each other. And one will secretly message me and say, "Oh, Mum, it just tasted awful, but I didn't have the heart to tell her."
You just told everybody on live radio. I love it. I love that. Okay, that cackle. We need to stop cackling, because that sounded like.
But it's funny how, whereas my son really did learn how to cook really well before he left. I have to say, I was very proud of Zayn when he left. Wow. So he had all the tools, but he runs out of money and goes on beans and rice. But
is it so? Who has the Shahnaaz Ayub effect in the kitchen? Which one of your three children? Who can carry your legacy on?
Oh, you know what? I can't, because they're all going to start arguing with me after, saying, I'm the better cook. I'm better. So I'll be diplomatic and say each of them brings something to the table.
Lovely.
Let's just leave it at that.
That's so cute.
But I have to say, I do have some tips to help you achieve a stress-free and healthier month of Ramadan if you are a student. Like the suhoor meal should aim to provide sustainable energy levels for the day, and aim to eat a quick, light, nutrition-rich meal. And some recipe ideas are, for example, overnight oats or porridge with a sprinkle of fruits, nuts, and seeds. And these have very low glycemic index to help you stay fuller for longer, which is really important if you're a student. And oat and egg-based recipes are also high in protein. Avoid sugary. These energy drinks that are out on the market at the moment, please, for goodness sake, ban them. It's not good for anyone. They really aren't. They are actually, they say that they're sugar-free, but they're full of sugar. They're just alternatives.
Crikey.
That are not good for us at all. So avoid sugary drinks. They're only going to make you thirstier. They're not going to give you energy. They're just changing a whole constitution. So avoid sugary drinks. Avoid breakfast cereals that are sugary and cereal bars because they contain more than 20% of sugar per 100 grams. They're lethal. And they may offer you quick bursts of energy, but leave you feeling really hungry when that blood sugar level falls. Now, when you're talking about your iftar meal, the iftar meal will recharge and replenish energy stores. So try and plan ahead. I know it's hard while you're a student, but just give this some time. Try and plan ahead with food shopping and cook in bulk. So you can freeze some meals for the exam period, for example. I love adding a combination of ingredients into a roasting tin, for example, and then covering it with foil, leaving it in the fridge, and then pop it in the oven just before iftar. It doesn't require great cooking skills either, and it's just so quick and easy to do. And also revising for long periods of time during fasting can often lead to a dip in energy levels and concentration. So not just talking about the people that are living away from home, but even like the people that are doing, important exams, GCSEs, A-levels, that time period's coming, isn't it? Where they're going to have to revise for those all important exams. And I have to say to all of you, hydration is key. If you are feeling thirsty at any time of the day, it's because your body is dehydrated. It's not because you just need a quick fix of water. Your cells are actually dehydrated, which is why you're feeling thirsty. So they say that you actually should never feel thirsty if you're hydrating yourself enough. I'm the worst person to take my own advice when it comes to that. So hydration is key to maintaining good concentration and also good quality sleep. And take power naps. I'm a brilliant advocate for taking power naps during the day or before iftar if you're feeling tired. Physical activity helps to release endorphins, which can help reduce stress and anxiety. I really do encourage people of all age to take naps during the day. It's a norm in places like Spain. They have their siesta. I get it because actually, you might think actually 10 minutes isn't enough, but actually that power nap gives you that incredible burst of energy that makes you function so effectively.
And it's in places in Japan, it's a norm. The pods, they have working nap pods for their employees, so they understand the benefit of that.
So important. I don't know why we don't have it more.
Shahnaaz, it's an absolute treat listening into you, sharing the snippets of so much wisdom. Shahnaaz, Ayub, tell us your book. What is your book?
I think people they're probably screaming at the radio. Perfectly Easy Indian Food is available on Amazon. It's doing really well, actually. Mashallah, mashallah. I thank God for everything that I've been bestowed with because, it's a very, very competitive industry to be in. But I balance it with my love of being a lawyer as well and just doing the job that I do as a child
being
protection.
A brilliant mother and brilliant wife and just having a fridge. Your heart is full.
To differ.
Your heart is full and so is your fridge. And the energy that you bring, because it's not just, you share this energy with the wonderful women's group that you are part of.
Yes.
So
can I mention
yes,
that?
you can. Of course
it's a lovely group that we had just recently an event. We celebrated our 5th anniversary. It's called Women Connecting Women. And we hold seminars for women. It's a women's only event where you come and you learn about or take part in things that are just so pivotal to our everyday life, whether it be mental health, whether it be any kind of health issue, whether it be, just learning about how to do things and coping in the society. It's really, really useful. And people came to that event that hadn't been before, and they absolutely loved it. I think there's just not that available in this community, and to be able to go somewhere and talk freely with people and network. So everybody has a business. That's not everybody that's there, but a lot of the members have businesses.
Are established in their own right.
Oh, do you know?
And they're all from Luton.
Proud. I feel so proud.
Amazing.
It's not just Asian; it's every woman from every walk of life. But the other day I was thinking, I need 50 samosa and I don't know, where I can source them from in a rush. And of course, I didn't have the time to do it. And I just looked at my WCW group, rang one woman, and within literally 2 hours, it was at my door. It's like
amazing.
Anything, your car maintenance, fashion,
wow.
makeup, anything bridal, anything, any therapy. Just, I think everything is covered. Everything is covered within that group. And that's the beauty of it, that they're from trusted people, rather than going on to Google and finding somebody that you don't know. These are all trusted people. So I love that group. It's wonderful.
How wonderful. Final words before the end of the show?
Everybody, just enjoy this blessed month. It's such, and think of it as being an absolute privilege to be born into what we're born into and be able to enjoy, because believe me, there are people that look at us and think, wow. And that's why we're the fastest growing religion in the whole world. We are, so fortunate, mashallah, because everything makes sense when you read and absorb things properly. That comes with age, that comes with experience, but everything makes sense in life. And if you, have your sense of faith and you have your sense of family around you, or if you don't have family, you feel comfortable in the skin that you're in, you have your self-esteem, feel, and you have your health, feel very, very fortunate. That's the main thing, regardless of your circumstances. And we're looking at a world where things are, not as they should be.
Indeed. Thank you so very much, Shahnaaz Ayub, for joining me today on the Urban Cube. An absolute treat to have you share your wisdom, your recipes, and all the budget plans on Inspire FM this morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me, Shemiza.